Greetings of the day. My name is Bhavya Chopra and my student IC is 100304417. Today I'll be discussing about the various ethical and legal issues which were faced by Auto Parts Corporation APC, and we will analyze the potential course of actions for David in our case and identify the underlying business and organization causes of these issues. Also, we'll propose some preventive measures so that we can ensure such problems do not rise again. And I will also, in the end, give some reference to some of my points that we will discuss. Starting with the ethical and legal issues, I would say that there were many ethical and legal issues that can be seen as per the reference shared to us for the company APC. The first one and the key most is the health and safety violations. That actually comes under a legal issue, as it is a very heinous and very severe issue. What was the background was like the company, which was ABC, was fined like to a quarter million by WSIB due to there were numerous safety violations, such as there was inadequate machine guarding and there was lack of personal preventive equipments for that, right? Because of these violation workplace acts, there was a kind of safety regulations concerned, and that what was endangering the employee health and safety. Hence, it is a kind of it falls under type of safety and health law or occupational safety and health law, which is also a regulatory offense. If I move on to the second one, which could be a discriminatory hiring practice, by which I mean is the way they were hiring or they were not taking their employees from certain regions. By the way, it is a legal and also an ethical issue. So the employment contracts exclude workers born in Quebec and require Canadian birth, which was a kind of discriminatory or kind of racist, we can say, as there were only a certain groups of people being eliminated and the rest were eligible to work in the company. Hence, it comes under employment law, and we can say that it is discriminatory in nature, and it also hampers the business ethics, also the fairness, we can say, as a measure like Canadian employment discrimination law, which prohibits hiring based on birthplace of origin and reflects unethical discriminatory practices. That's what I've been sharing uh in this issue. Another issue that comes into my mind is invasion of privacy, which is also a legal issue. So basically, if I talked about, there was a reference in the context that there was a mandatory urine samples for employees with undisclosed medical or uh, medical history or maybe like toxic gel testing, which is not right as per my belief, because that is a hamper of your privacy and it falls under employment law. Because violating this privacy laws is protecting employees from invasion testing without proper consent. This is a key explanation to what I just said. The other and the foremost, if I if I talk about any other ethical issue that comes straight to my mind is worker exploitation. How? It was told to us that temporary workers were paid minimum wages with no benefits, whereas the few of the federal, or we can say the leftover um, employees from, they were paid somewhere around $20-30 an hour, whereas the temporary workers were just paid minimum wages, which is which is kind of unfair in itself, and it reflects unfair treatment and exploitation between workers, and what it prioritizes profit over fair compensation. which is absolutely wrong and is a kind of a unethical to me in a way that it is not good for a business and it also is not fair in itself. If I talk about if I talk about um if I talk about if I see that there was no such proper training or there was no like lack of training between workers as there was a mention between like the training because temporary workers receive only like 15 to 20 minutes of training instead of the recommended 8 to 12 hours of training, which was which is itself not right because if you don't have the adequate training, you won't be able to perform your duties well. As compromising work safety is not a good idea, which demonstrate a lack of care and responsibility. So if you can't spend money or time to train your own stuff, that is not going to help the business in long run, right? That could that might end up in safety issues, again, lack of quality, efficiency might lead to firing some employees. So it's a actually a harm to the business and it's also not a good business ethics as per my point of view. Now, if we move on to the next issue, if I have to say that would be the unsafe working conditions. Again, it's the same thing which is coming in different things. Like it's also an ethical issue, but the safety violations with adequate machine gardening were not safe in itself, right? Because there were safety violations and endangers employees' health and lives is not right in itself. It's a very risky thing, and endangering somebody's life for your profit is totally wrong and it reflects negligence. So, hence, it is a kind of a harm to both the employee and the employer, and it is not good for the business as per the ethics point of view. And if I have to bring another such concern that comes into my mind, that could be high employee turnover. By that, what I mean is like reliance on temporary workers created instability and inadequate training continuity. Because you're relying on just the temporary workers for because of your profits and your gains. So there's no proper training continuity, right? There's no proper time investing on their training. So because of high turnover and poor training practices, this led to unsafe working conditions and such things are not good for the employees you have. No matter what, if they're permanent or they're temporary, they're gonna be unsafe because of not proper training. They're gonna not perform their duties well. Unfortunately, they have to get laid off or they have to leave. So it's not a good it's a harm for the business and also it's a business ethics point of view, it is very bad. If I have to bring another point to the table, it would be lack of accountability. By that, I mean like the management was told, like including the president, was not held accountable for safety and training lapses, right? That was mentioned in the text. So if the higher management is not concerned, so who's gonna take over or look over the organization? That's a that's a really unfortunate situation when the higher management is not itself taking part in such activities which needs key attention. This shows there's a lack of accountability and a lot of cultural negligence involved here. And if we say there is a responsibility gap here, and this is not good practice if we say in ethics term for business point of view too. Another, if I have to give another reference, that could be forced financial burdens. As mentioned, the married employees must buy company approved life insurance at their own expense. How come is it totally right? Like at one stage you're saying that you're making it compulsory for the married employees that they should buy only the insurance that the company pays, that too at their own expense. Doesn't make sense to me at all. That means imposing unnecessary financial burdens on employees shows a lack of care of their financial well-being. Like these things are given as perks to their employees in most of their organization, where they are said to be born at the employees employees cost. So it is not right to me, as it is very unfair practice in my point of view. Now if we move on to the course of actions for David, like what alternate course of actions he could take in order to prevent, would be number one, reporting to regulators, whoever is the regulating body in that case. But here are two circumstances. There is always two sides of the coin, right? One is as one is still same. For every situation, there are pros and cons. The pro side would be like it ensures enforcement of safety and legal standards, and it protects the employees from wrong practices. The negative side could be like it could lead to significant penalties to the company, which might harm David's relationship with management. So David has to think wisely if he makes any such decision. Either he wants to take to risk his own job, or he wanna ensure proper safety and make sure other people's lives or other people's job is not at risk. Second would be internal advocacy. By that, what I mean is like there would be like proper checking within the organization. He doesn't have to approach any external body. But here, potentially, it improves the conditions without external penalties, and it builds internal support between different teams and different departments. But if he does that, don't you think that would slow the process, and resistance from management could hinder progress? Because if there is so much checking and so much time traveling, training time to time, that would, I think, would kind of slow down the process, and it would be kind of always under surveillance or always under check by the higher management. Other thing could be resigning. Don't take me wrong, there's also a good sign. If David maintains personal integrity and also avoids association with unethical practices, he's on the right side. He's not part of such organization that is corrupt, or I would say the better word would be unfair towards its own employees. The bad side would be it doesn't solve the problem at all. If he leaves if he leaves the job, they might still end up doing the same thing. They hardly care if David is still working for them or not. So it's also a kind of financial problem which might arise for David, because at this point of view, this point of life, he doesn't have a job, right? So this was for the, and another point that comes to my mind would be implementing training program. By that I mean like if he if he like okay, if I talk about the right good side, directly improves work safety if he tries to include any or bring any training programs for the employees. It improves the safety of the workers, and it also aligns with the regulatory standards as per the regulatory bodies, right? But what would be the bad side? Have you ever thought that it requires significant time and resources in a project, and that might face resistance from management due to cost? Because for employees training, that requires lots of money, lots of time, and lots of patience, right? So lastly, if I would cover another point, that would be whistleblowing. Yes, you heard me right. But the good thing is it forces immediate action on safety and legal violations, right? If you highlight such incidents, that would immediately work on, and it protects the workers. But obviously we know that's not what would be the bad side, that it is high personal and professional risk. Potential backlash from the company is a sure shot in such cases, as we have seen anywhere we go. Now, the third part of the video which I'll be covering is underlying business and organization causes. By that, I mean like the business and organizational things that are driven. First, profit-driven decision making. Sorry. It focuses on reducing cost and increasing profits, compromising worker safety and training, right? Second, lack of management accountability. If the managers, including the president, are not held for accountable for safety and training lapses, right? If I have to think for another one, that could be high employee turnover. That means reliance on temporary workers creates instability and inadequate training continuity. Same, another point comes to my mind is inadequate safety culture. Safety policies are poorly enforced, which can lead to cultural of negligence. Another point that is of significant importance is conflict of interest. Ownership of just-in-time labor by company directors creates a conflict of interest, which prioritize profits over work safety. So that was all the points from organization side. Now, if I have to cover the preventive measures, for number one, could be comprehensive training program. Very important. That implements thorough training programs aligned with industry standards for their safety, for their quality. Number two could be regular safety audits, like bi-weekly, monthly, but there should be audits which conducts frequent safety audits and enforce compliance strictly. Another point is revising hiring practices. Yes, ensuring hiring practices are non-discriminatory and fair, should not be biased or racist at all. Number four, strengthening worker benefits. They should be provided fair wages and also benefits to improve work satisfaction and reduce turnover. Lastly, establishing accountability mechanisms. That means that if we hold the management accountable for safety and ethical practices through regular reviews and compromises for non-compliance, that would that would make the leadership work, and they would they would focus on areas which need immediate attention. So if I have to conclude this video, I would just in conclusion, I'll be addressing the ethical and legal issues that APC requires as a multinational approach. As a multinational company, APC should follow these approaches, which which needs to be addressed right now, so that the company which is at risk can save itself, which involving legal enforcement, internal advocacy, and comprehensive organization changes. By implementing thorough training programs and conducting safety regular audits, We can revise hiring practices and also holding management accountable. The APC can create a safer, fairer, and more ethical working environment as per I think so. And I'm thankful that you watched my video, and I hope you get satisfied with what I just said. In references, I would include the pretty much what was shared us in the context. The number one would be the Ontario Worksman Comprehension Insurance Board, which is also known as the WSIB board and its regulations. Number two, the Canadian Employment Discrimination Laws. Number three, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines. And number four would be ethical theories and principles from the class material. That was from my side, and I hope you like this video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.